and India, an extremely messy guide to immigration. This is News from 5D. I'm Otis 5D.
News from 5D with Otis 5D.
So before we get into this, let me just explain a few things. Instead of Christmas cheer this year, we got Christmas jeers. And a huge fight broke out between kind of like the pro-immigration tech right wing versus the kind of nationalist, protectionist, blood and soil right wing. And being the rootless cosmopolitan that I am, and kind of Libran by nature, I kind of see both sides. I think I have to go with the blood and soil people, if I'm honest, but I think that could be wrong. I think I could be wrong. And before I have like more than 100 screenshots. I can't imagine we're going to get through all of them. But I did a deep dive onto this, and I took in a lot of perspectives from a lot of smart and compelling people on both sides, including obviously Joe Lonsdale and David Sachs, who are very central to it, and Andrew Torba and Indian Bronson, and then, Balaji and George Hotz, GeoHot, and then just a ton of the dissident right who are almost entire. Vivek Ramaswamy, of course. I'm sure I'm missing like tons of big names whose perspectives I took in, Paul Graham. But a lot of it is a lot of what I took in is very negative. Devin Erickson, just a ton of people. But anyway, because I'm on I think on the side of blood and soil, meaning kind of like anti-immigration, the most compelling arguments I heard from the pro-immigration side, just in case you only watch this video for a short time, were from Balaji and GeoHot. And Balaji basically said that in his mind, like his thinking, and what I like about it is he acknowledges that it's just my thinking, but it seems pretty good, his thinking, as is often the case. Like, if you don't win tech in the 21st century, you don't win anything, because everything is tech. Finance is tech, culture is tech, the military is tech. Like it's all tech. AI, of course, is tech. Robots, drones. And then what GeoHot said is like, bro, if you don't like immigration, you're really going to hate AI, because there ain't nobody to complain to. Like, at least with this one, you can talk about the Jews bringing in the Indians, and there's there seems to be a lot of merit to that perspective. But when you hit the AI thing, where it's like now they want to replace people with AI, there's like it's like Google tech support. There's like no one to talk to. And so from those two perspectives, there is a possibility, in my opinion, that like the kind of like nationalist, protectionist MAGA side, they're like fighting the last war. But that's what a typical rootless cosmopolitan such as myself would say. And so because of that, I have like an inherent skepticism of that perspective, because it's very convenient. It's like there is a sense in which that perspective treats a country like a corporation, which is like the fundamental MAGA protectionist perspective, is that these globalist Jews and Indians, they treat everything like it's just a shopping mall, and they don't care about the humans. It's hard to argue with, and so many of the people pushing this are either Jewish or Indian, right? Or at least foreigners. So like Elon Musk is South African, David Sachs is a South African Jew, Joe Lonsdale is like an American Jew, Vivek is an Indian, born here, but parents are immigrants. Balaji is Indian, son of immigrants. There's so many more. We'll get to it as things come come along. But Sri Ram, of course, is Indian. Ben Horowitz is Jewish. So let's just say Indians and Jews are very overrepresented on the side saying like this is a good thing. So this is in no particular order. That's why I call it a messy guide. Some of these may be more valuable or less valuable than others. What a load of emotional blackmail bullshit if we want to remain prosperous. I think that is from Joe Lonsdale. He's replying to Joe Lonsdale. We are not an economic bloc. We want to remain American. You can shove your immigration up your ass. You know, and I took a lot of perspectives from people that like didn't get a lot of views. So, okay. So now we got Vivek. I don't know that we'll like go over this entire thing. This pissed a lot of people off. And so Vivek basically said, the reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an IQ deficit. A key part of it is because of culture. The culture, he's basically saying that Americans are into being cool and they want to be jocks and popular, and immigrants have parents who force them to work very hard, and their kids go on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. And we need more movies like Whiplash, which is about like a drum teacher who like fucking beats a drum student into submission, and then the drum student becomes super good, but you know, like very resentful. Fewer reruns of Friends, less chillin', and he's basically saying, close your eyes, which families you know in the 90s who raised their kids according to one model versus the other, be brutally honest. So he's basically saying immigrants raise their kids better and normal. See, this is a compelling perspective, I think. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. There is something to be said for that, I do think, but what we'll see is that a lot of people are like, yo, fuck that shit. Like, all these people come to America and they do better, and their fucking shithole countries like India fucking suck, right? And so if these people are so amazing, why aren't their countries so great when you got a bunch of schleppy white people who built America into like the greatest place on earth? And so Vivek might say, well, yeah, but you're lazy now. I kind of agree with Vivek, but again, I am skeptical of my own perspective because that's exactly what a rootless cosmopolitan would say. Now, David Sachs, retweeted by Joe Lonsdale, talks about how there's 3 million illegal aliens and 140,000 employment visas. Maybe we should focus on the 95% where we all agree. Makes sense. It's hard for me to knock that. I think people will say that he's like deflecting or whatever. This one, not important. This is like, you know, ex-employee, Twitter person, Cash talking. Here we go. What does Balaji have to say? Oh, okay. So somebody talks shit to Balaji's previous tweet about like how China just put out a new AI model, and somebody's like, wow, and they didn't even need H-1B visa people. They say, and so Balaji says, funny you mentioned that because Prafulla Dhariwal is an international math Olympiad and international physics Olympiad gold medalist with a 5.0 GPA from MIT, and he led the development of GPT-4o. And this tweet you're not seeing is from Sam Altman talking about GPT-4o wouldn't have happened. Actually, no, I'm not going to do it. Without the vision, talent, conviction of Prafulla Dhariwal. And so then Balaji says, in other words, the Chinese DeepSeek paper references, so that's the model that Balaji was talking about. DeepSeek paper references GPT-4o, which was in fact led by an Indian immigrant to the U.S. What I like about Balaji's perspective is he said there's many valid policy decisions one can make, but be real about the trade-offs. That's very honest, I think. Much more honest than the vast majority of people in this debate. Is like, let's be pragmatic about trade-offs. 96% of the world is non-American, and there is real talent out there. Makes sense, like to this rootless cosmopolitan, it makes sense. So then Paul Graham says, as a rule, the people who know the most about something are the pros so basically the pros at judging tech talent are venture capitalists. If venture capitalists' opinions differ from white nationalists, it's clear he's more likely to be right. Suck a dick, you ag-fay, Paul Graham. It's so disingenuous to strawman people like that. Paul Graham is such a fucking loser-ass Kamala voter to do that to people, to just like take all of these valid arguments and just call them, like, straw man it into being a difference between venture capitalist professionals and white nationalists. And then somebody says, I don't understand the push for 20th century style immigration for tech post-COVID. We have satellites, 35 millisecond ping on a sailboat off the Antarctic. Why uproot your whole life? Blah, 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 blah. That's interesting. It's an interesting perspective. So this guy's telling Joe Lonsdale to take a knee because Lee Kuan Yew says, in multiracial societies, you don't vote in accordance with your economic interests and social interests. You vote in accordance with race and religion. And this is one of the, uncomfortable facts that gets pointed out by gets revealed by a lot of data, which is that white people are happy to vote for candidates of all colors, Asians, blacks, Latinos, whatever. But Asians, Latinos, and blacks and Indians, South Asians, I guess they would be called, tend to just vote for the people that are the same race as them, which is what Lee Kuan Yew is pointing out here. You vote in accordance with race and religion in a multiracial society. So the idea is that, like, if you change the demographics of the society and you bring in all these people who are aligned not to, like, an ideology of American exceptionalism, but are just like tribalistic because they don't just magically change on the magic dirt, to use the dog whistle slang of America. Now you like upset the apple cart, and the thing that made America great gets replaced by like what makes everything else a shithole, which is that people are just tribalistic. And so you import tribes and you get tribalism. So that's interesting too. David Sachs is already walking back. He retweets Cerno, who talks about obviously America benefits from skimming the cream simultaneously. I know you can't see this, by the way. It's obvious H-1B visa and chain migration have been exploited. So Russian Cosmos, the anti-Groyper, is talking about the fact that David Sachs is already trying to read the room and being like, yeah, I agree, chain migration bad. But hey, it is what it is, okay? So then, that's not connected to this. Dear Silicon Valley Sultans on X. So Torba really went hard at Nick Fuentes for saying, what the hell just happened there? Anyway, I guess we're going to skip that one. So Torba went hard, you're not going to see that, at Nick Fuentes about, not supporting Trump, even though Nick Fuentes said that what's happening is exactly what is happening. And Torba is saying, yeah, but you have to win the election. Then you have these fights. So now Torba is basically fighting on the side of Nick Fuentes. Whether he would actually acknowledge that or not, I have no idea. I think he would, because he seems to be pretty honorable. But what he tweeted was basically a video saying, like, hey, tech bros, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Meaning, MAGA's got the upper hand, and they're going to start pushing around their power, and they're not just going to let Elon and, David Sachs and Shriram run over them. So then Joe Bott talks about, what did you think transhumanism or effective acceleration meant exactly? Of course you're expendable to them. Wait, nope, that's not connected to this. See, I took in like so many things that I guess not everything. This is from Ali Alexander. Highly skilled, this alliance between Jewish investors and Indian immigrants. Israel looks like shit. India can't develop shit. Seattle, San Francisco, and Toronto have all turned into shit. We are being replaced and destroyed by our allies with dual citizenship. Compelling. So then a lot of people took issue with this for good reason. I proceeded to immediately block this Dr. Sabrina Gaffali, whatever her name is. She says, you know what the colonizers didn't count on? Those of us born and raised in the West, in the mothership of the colony, turning on them. They thought we'd be forever indebted to them for their benevolence and how they imprison us. They thought they could colonize our minds like they colonize our lands. They didn't know we'd take their gab and garb and use them as tools to free the rest. They didn't know their empire would eventually end by implosion. So people are saying, like, bro, this is what they fucking do. They come here and then they become bitter and resentful, and you get those fucking ag phase like Vijaya and Prarag, and they go around banning everyone because fucking free speech is not a virtue of India. But then you have Indian people saying, yes, it is. So I don't know. But my experience with Indian people is they do not stand up for free speech the way Americans do. So I even see some validity in her perspective. Like, yeah, bro, you went around colonizing the world and now that shit comes back to bite you in the ass. I think that there is some truth to that. But it doesn't mean that you should, like, want it to happen, meaning you should not bring in these kinds of immigrants because it will just hasten the destruction. You could, but on the other hand, people could say that that's just like cherry picked. So somebody replied to Torba basically saying, to be fair, everybody without their heads up their asses predicted this 7 months ago. That's like Nick Fuentes. But Torba says, we all knew this fight was coming. It's about two things, tact and timing. You don't make this fight during the election cycle. You spend that time winning Trump supporters over so that when the time comes now, we launch a unified counteroffensive on these critical issues. Compelling. See, that's the thing about me. I find a lot of stuff compelling. So then somebody replies to Joe Lonsdale. Again, this is the messy guide. I know this is all out of order. A lot of backtracking and hedging. This is a country preserving culture and values. Most of us work to live, find a way to succeed with talent available. Joe Lonsdale says, I'm not backtracking on anything. An angry mob made a bunch of false assumptions without context. I've fought as hard for our culture and traditions as anybody and for keeping the USA safe and functional. I'm furious at illegal immigration and other dumb mistakes of this government. Furious is such cornball shit to use. Joe Lonsdale is a very lovable cornball in my honest opinion, but I don't know. He's accomplished a lot. So then Joe, a majority of Indian immigrants are progressive. This is a fair question, and we need to be careful on values and also not bring in too many at once who don't integrate. The populist fervor for bold change to our status quo is not unreasonable. See, the thing is that I think, like, fuck Paul Graham, but, you know, Balaji and Joe Lonsdale, even David Sachs, I think they're all pretty reasonable, I think, which is good. There's something good about that. Like, at least they're not, like, for the most part, gaslighting. Paul Graham is a fucking loser ass Democrat who, of course, gaslights because that's what loser ass Democrats do. Somebody talking shit about. Anyway, this one was no good. That guy, he like misunderstood. I can see why you'd be confused. So Joe Lonsdale said, I can see, to Devin Erickson, he said, I can see why you'd be confused and assume that because I've built a lot of companies, I'm focused on what makes money, but that's not where I'm coming from here. He said, you say that, but your choice of language gives the game away. So Joe Lonsdale really does talk a lot about the fact that it's kind of like trickle-down economics. Yeah, it basically is trickle-down economics. In fact, I'm surprised people haven't said that. Kudos to me. Let me brush that dirt off my shoulders. He's basically saying, like, hey, we need all this talent to come because, like, they will start companies and then those companies will employ Americans and, like, everyone will be better off. I find it compelling. I don't know. But then you get the Ollie Alexander thing. It's like, well, if this shit's so great, why are all these cities turning to shit when they, when it happens? So, Ragnarly's very fascinating. He is a OG corner who started a conference called like Guns and Bitcoin, I think. And he's now like fully on board as like, hey, we need to protect white people. And so he replies to, I believe, Joel Lonsdale, saying, you still don't get it. America was created by and for white people, specifically English, not for any other race, not for any other reason. America was literally created as our ethnic homeland by our ancestors for ourselves and our posterity. It says so right in the preamble to the Constitution. It says so in all major immigration acts, which strictly restricted granting citizenship to whites. Black slaves were later granted citizenship, and I don't know what Hart-Celler is, was a betrayal. Maybe it's like what gave black people citizenship. He says, look up the immigration acts. Up until recently, the U.S. has been 80 to 85% white. No matter how you spin it, your proposed policies and your Indian nationalist friend, yeah, this is definitely a response to Joe Lonsdale about Sri Ram, and non-white ethnics with their policies and too numerous presence will and are destroying the ethnic makeup of our homeland, the United States. As a Jew, Joe Lonsdale is Jewish, you should appreciate the right and need for an ethnicity to have a country of one's own. So don't take ours away. Even if America is not your homeland, it's ours. Bottom line, we, the heritage Americans, the rightful inheritors of this nation, not corporation, want a freeze on all immigration. Anything else is a betrayal of us and pointedly our mandate to President Trump. And then somebody says you forgot Protestant and how it's important that they're Protestant and not Catholic. So, but then Nick Fuentes would say Catholic is not Protestant, and I think maybe Torba would too. So I don't know. Everybody's making interesting points, and I think what else is interesting is that this is going to force white identity into the conversation. And Ragnarly is fucking smart, bro. And the fact that he's like, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to talk about whiteness and white people. Bro, that is a what is that? A canary in the coal mine. That's not the right word. That's like that is an important data point. This is going to become something that people are talking about, right? And it's being forced to the surface by this immigration conversation. So that's like a preview of things to come, which is why I clipped it, because right now that's like pretty far outside of the Overton window, and bro just doesn't give a fuck, clearly. So he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna talk about it because like this is, our fucking homeland is at stake. But as he talks, like more and more people are going to be like, okay, I'm going to talk about that too. So then he says, you ignored Devin's most important point. America is for Americans. We don't want them here. Set up an office overseas to employ them there with your, quote, American company. I'm enjoying this. Let's keep going. I might speed up a bit. I'm going to skip that one. Yeah, I think I am. This man, so Sri Ram, he's saying this man has no loyalty to America. He was born in India and resides in the United Kingdom. So his LinkedIn bio shows that he's in London. And the interesting thing is that this is like my world. I've been listening to the Artie and Sri Ram podcast since it was on Clubhouse. Right? Like, I'm fucking OG, bro. I remember the appearance of Artie and Sri Ram, and when it was such a huge deal. They had on Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, and they're fucking talking about NFTs, right? Like in the height of COVID, and then they do the Good Time show, and then, started on YouTube, and I've been watching from the beginning of that, and they had Balaji and Mark Andreessen and all kinds of other people aren't coming to mind right now. And now they just have the Artie and Sri Ram. And, so I've been subscribed to them from the beginning. So it's interesting to see, like, Sri Ram from Artie and Sri Ram as, like, the center of discourse right now. But I remember that they moved to London. And so there is something interesting that this, like, Indian guy who lives in London is going to be focused on American policy. I don't know. I can see why people are skeptical of. I do like what this person says. Joe Lonsdale replied to Devin Erickson, and he started the sentence, the response with, "I can see why you'd be confused and assume." And this dude says, "Imagine someone trying to convince you of anything, and they start off with, 'I can see why you'd be confused and assume.' How well is that going to work?" Yeah, I agree with that. That was whack. But I don't know. Joe Lonsdale seems like a good enough guy, like a good faith actor. So I think he might agree. Yeah, that was a little whack. This ain't it, pal. As a neutral observer, you come across as yet another pH-neutral spreadsheet sociopath, your fellow countrymen who are telling you don't inspire trust or correct. If you were one of my kin, I wouldn't trust you either. Look up Noblesse Oblige and start from there. Once you've got your latest avocado on toast ordering app working. Anyway, okay. I think we're going to start skipping those ones. Blah, blah, gimme Indians. That's what you sound like. Merry Christmas, you piece of amphibian shit. Never seen a more tone-deaf post. But again, these are like Twitter replies, so it doesn't necessarily mean that much just because one person says it. This is interesting, too, because this seems to be very real. Indians only hire Indians, then they live 10 to a house and destroy the fabric of the communities they invade. So then somebody's saying he's narcissistic for starting it by saying, "I can see why you're confused." First sentence, "I can see why you'd be confused and assume that because I have built a lot of companies, I'm focused on what makes money, but that's not where I'm coming from here." Last sentence, "The only way we all get wealthier is positive sum building and higher productivity." There's a certain sense in which that's a gotcha, but it's a pretty good gotcha. You have to acknowledge. And then he said, Joe Lonsdale said, "No Islamists." And then this person says, "Oh, but dual citizen Jews are just fine." That's like him. Ones that don't care about the, quote, browning of America. Ben Horowitz was always talking about that. The browning of America, a Jewish guy, no problem. So I think that this is also going to have to come to the surface. The fact of like that so much of the venture capital class pushing this, like David Sachs, like Joe Lonsdale, are, if not dual citizen Jews, are like effectively dual citizen Jews who believe, or like meritocracy, like Ben Shapiro, that like it's not about white, it's like whoever has the right ideology, whoever has the right IQ. And I, again, as a rootless cosmopolitan, I'm pretty prone to this kind of thinking myself, but that makes me skeptical of it. So I'm looking for steelmans against it, and they're pretty good. Letting in a bunch of supposedly skilled immigrants has been a disaster to Canada. Counterpoint, fuck off, we're full. You don't understand MAGA populism. Your guys keep importing foreigners. It's not going to end up well for you or them. We've been nice so far. Oh, shit. It's really going down. IQ test. It's not about, Devin Erickson says it's not about what I agree with. I'm talking about trust. I do not get to dictate who middle America trusts. Okay. All right. I'm going to start going faster now. So that's interesting too. You and all your friends abuse the system. You'll hire Indians over Americans whenever you can save 1%. Time to suspend the H-1B program until the, quote, low-end problem is fixed. I've hired tens of thousands of people born in America, and thousands of them have become millionaires. How are you doing in competition with me for helping people born here? All right. I don't know. It's like a dick contest. He might have won it, but this is Devin Erickson's post. It's a bit, now that we've seen all these other things, I think we don't really need it. So this is what started it all. Not really started it all, but this is the main one from Joe Lonsdale. My friend Sri Ram is America first. For USA to have the highest standard of living, generous government services, and strongest military, we need to recruit the best and brightest and build the best companies. I'm against more low-end H-1B immigrants, but let's win at the talent game. 41 million views. So then David Sachs, what he's quote tweeting is David Sachs saying, point of clarification, Sri Ram, the guy we've been talking about, didn't say he wants to remove all caps on green cards. He said he wants to move country caps. Now the thing is that it seems like there's a long history of Indian people cheating. And that's one of the reasons that they, that we're going to skip that one. What does Joe Lonsdale say here? He's replying, I believe this is a reply to Devin Erickson that we went through. We're going to skip that too. You're selling out America and Americans. Oh, good. This is what I wanted. Good. This is what I was looking for. So this person says to Joe Lonsdale, who's kind of putting on like a happy face about all this immigration, says, effectively like bullshit. You're a salesman and nothing more, and you're selling out America and Americans. Those of us who work in the industry and have been a success know the truth of it, and that is why you're hearing from us now. You absolutely worthless, lying piece of shit. You're clearly conflating the numbers, first of all. Secondly, you're basically saying you made people rich by putting them into the same situation. This is, wait. Wait, what? Damn, I'm wrong. I thought that was a good one. So more of my friend Sriram being America first. I'm really looking for something about like the abuse of the H-1B system. So this is really how it started, is Laura Loomer. Good old fucking Laura Loomer. Deeply disturbing to see the appointment of Sriram Krishnan. And then David Sachs replies, and Laura Loomer replies, and then Elon Musk says to David Sachs that it makes sense what he's saying. This is okay. So. Oh, and then Aaron Levy, CEO of Box, another Jew, talks about skilled immigration. So again, it's just a pattern of like a lot of these people are Jewish. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Okay, good. I think this is what I'm looking for now. So he's saying this process has been systematically abused. There were 2 recent cases in which the DOJ sued Apple and Facebook after discovering blatant discrimination in their hiring process, where they prioritized foreign workers over Americans. So Joe Lonsdale, yeah, we need to stop the abuse. That's fair. Lots of nonsense from big corporations on this. Raising minimum salaries for these a lot is my preferred way. So again, the guy says, thanks, appreciate the response. I think Joe Lonsdale is acting in good faith. Whatever you want to say about him, I do think that. So what do we got? What is it? Oh, okay. So then Ollie Alexander talks about the fact that Elon says, we need double the number of immigrants yesterday. The number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in America is far too low. Think of it like a pro sports team. And then somebody replies, my son graduated with honors with electrical and computer engineering degrees in 2023. He cannot get an interview, let alone a job. Any white male he knew in college can't get jobs either. Many are currently working in data center jobs that don't require their education. And this person ratioed Elon Musk. And Ali makes a good point where he says the algo is rigged to put Elon in everyone's timeline and boost people who favorably comment to him. He still got ratioed. America has spoken. Compelling. I was going to talk about that, but that's a different topic. Okay. So this is a good one too. Louis Getterman IV, and one of my favorites. Open secret, one of my best friends, an Indian immigrant who works in tech, asked me what my thoughts were on things. My wife, also an immigrant who works in tech, experiences this even in her Fortune 5 company. Anyone saying otherwise is either lying, stupid, or worse, could be both. And he's basically backing up the idea that like white people can't even get interviews. There's no shortage. If there was, real wages would be going up for engineers and software developers. There have been declining. So that's the other thing, is that they're saying that it's really important that we need all of this, like Elon and David Sachs and stuff. They're saying we need all of this because because there aren't enough engineers. But then when you look at the facts, there were like 150,000 layoffs in tech in 2024. So how would you square that circle? I guess what you would say is that you don't need a lot of low to mid-level people who can be replaced by AI or something. But for the best and the brightest, the people Balaji was referring to who like build GPT-4o, you need them from like wherever the fuck they come from. It doesn't fucking matter. And again, I find all of this very compelling. And then we got Bennett's Phylactery talking about minorities leading the way and making jokes about JD Vance. Whatever. H-1B visas for Indians in 2022, 320,000. For Germans, 1,100. So again, this is another part of the point, which is that it's like, bro, like, okay, we're going to skip that one. The real reason they want more Indian immigrants is because Indians love Jews. That's what Torba is saying. What do we got here? Americans are sick and tired of feeling like they're in a third world country every time they go anywhere in public. And then a Groiper says, like, why are you just talking about this now that the election is already over when we have no leverage? And then Torba blocked him. And then somebody says, because you had to win the election, you fucking child. Okay. I don't know. I can see both sides. Then the Texas Patriot says, native of Dallas, Indians have taken over entire zip codes, Indian restaurants and grocery stores everywhere. They've fundamentally changed my hometown and not for the better. They are extremely entitled and bossy to deal with. When I have been around Indians in America, I was never that like, oh, fucking Indians, and that's all over California and stuff. So, but that I don't have that much experience, I have to acknowledge. So I'm not trying to like say much of anything in that. Oh, I like this one. This one was funny. Guys, hear me out. We memed a TV personality into becoming the U.S. president. Let's meme this into a reality. The beautiful future of, the marriage between Jews and Indians. 9mm SMG, another good account, recommended follow, 9mm_SMG. Quote, I don't know why Americans are suddenly against legal immigration. They must be evil racists. Meanwhile, on X, hello, mother bitches, we colonize you. India #1, Indiaification of USA, almost complete inbred Westerners. That was funny. I don't know about that. Torba's saying that the right wing is unified. I like this too. 0 HP Lovecraft says that Musk wants to be a man of the people. This isn't your chance to say, ha, I told you things will never be good. That's a loser mentality. 0 HP Lovecraft, also a Jew. This is your chance to let Musk know what really matters to you. Again, yeah, I agree. I think David Sachs and Elon Musk and Joe Lonsdale are arguing in good faith. Even I think Vivek is to some extent. Less, but still to some extent. So American Truckers talks about we are experiencing visa abuse in the trucking industry as well. See, this is the real issue to me, is that as far as everyone I have personally talked to that I know in real life, Indians abuse all these systems. They make up fake resumes, fake university degrees, fake work experiences. They steal people's websites and say they built them. And then they look very impressive and like no one can check it because it's fucking across the world. And like, well, how the fuck do you know that you're calling their boss and not their fucking cousin, right? This new cohort of drivers is performing work on illegal tourist visas. Some possess no U.S. commercial driver's license, no U.S. medical certificate, and cannot even speak English. As a result, truck crashes are out of control. The salary of American truck drivers, it says, is like $50-something thousand, and India is $2,500. So obviously, see, I had it. I had it off the top of my head. I didn't remember that I had saved that. Torba says something kind of funny. Elon let us all back on the platform, and now all the Silicon Valley sultans are getting utterly destroyed in the comment section by actual Americans whom they never interact with and have no basis of understanding whatsoever. Truly glorious to witness. This person points out that median household income in the U.S. by ethnic group at the top are Jews, 124,000 a year. Number 2, Indians, 100,000 a year. Then Filipinos, 83,000 a year, and we go from there. Let's see. So Bowtied Ranger is pointing out that he tweeted about this like 4 months ago, and saying that there's a major issue basically with H-1Bs. He says Indian CEOs be like, quote, revenue is down 80%, but EBITDA is up 3% due to laying off the entire native workforce and outsourcing production to Southeast Asia. Garbage Human tweets a thing from very famous YouTuber Bald and Bankrupt. I visited India so you don't have to. So many travel vloggers I see talk hella shit about India. So the Groypers, Nick tried to warn everything. Vance's family is Indian. What do we got here? Oh, this is the whole Elon thing. So Mario Nawfal, I like him, I don't like him simultaneously. Very opportunist, but does good stuff. Limitation, engineering talent. We need more than double. That's where the famous tweet comes. Your understanding is upside down and backwards. Do you want America to win or do you want America to lose? Then Oren says America wins when it invests in the American people, not when it imports other people to do their jobs. Invest in and train American workers. You want people to have more kids, give them a future instead of replacing them. It's interesting. And then Elon basically doubles down. So BIPOC says, this is the only correct response. Elon's comment is stupid. He's saying he doesn't believe in our ability to control our own destiny and must rely on foreigners to succeed. And Elon basically doubled down on it and said, we're dumb. And I don't know. Let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, training. I don't know. I'm not so, yeah. Zarathustra has a good one. It's great to hop on here, hash things out with Elon and Sachs and watch everyone yell at each other. We've never had an open forum like this. It's a major white pill. At least you know you're being heard. Chrisman, he's quote tweeting Chrisman, says, we're watching people have productive debate about a genuinely complex issue, gloriously refreshing. Bait and switch. So I don't know. Lomez says some good stuff, but not. We're starting to get where we've heard enough. Okay, that one is not relevant. So then, yeah, this is relevant. Torba says there's major labor shortage. We need more H-1Bs. These people think you're stupid. Tech layoffs, nearly 150,000 in 2024. You can see there's a lot of layoffs going on. Joe Allen going at Beth Bezos. Woke right means opposing replacement immigration and reckless acceleration. Noted. So Beth says woke right is Russian troll farms. Anything that isn't maximizing strength of the U.S. is an op. I mean, it's an interesting idea that the woke left is supported by the CCP to cause America to implode, the woke right by Russian troll farms to, I don't know. I don't know. Seems pretty convenient. And that guy's a fucking Canadian. He's probably Jewish too, right? I like what Bennett says, regardless of what the new admin does, there's no conceivable axis on which Kamala would have been preferable, so no sense in which Fuentes Spencer are vindicated for agitating on her behalf. The problems we're arguing about today aren't even in the same ballpark. It looks to me like my battery ran out, and so what you're seeing is my disembodied voice, and I think we're going to call it there. I guess my final take is that this is genuinely complex. I don't have a strong opinion, but I lean in favor of shutting things down until we get a handle on the situation. But I see the perspective of people like Beth and Elon and Vivek that say, yeah, if you shut things down until you get a handle on the situation, China is going to hand you your ass. They're going to accelerate on with all Chinese people on electric vehicles and drones and humanoid robots, and Russia's going to accelerate on, hypersonic missiles, and America's going to be an also-ran. So we need to get the best and the brightest here, or we're going to lose. And it's like, do you want to win or do you want to lose? I don't know. And then the question is like, so if you win and you lose everything that your country was, like, what did you actually win? And that's kind of what happened with Russia, with the Soviets, is like they lost Russia to get this like communist empire. And it seems like they're doing better now that they have this like tiny GDP, but they're actually Russian. So again, I would still lean in the favor of MAGA, but tentatively, cautiously, hesitantly. So you can go fuck yourself from here out in the astral plane. Peace.
Otis5D.xyz